If you share a video that is misleading, that is threatening, that is harassing, you are liable and you commit an offense and you can be jailed according to our Kenyan laws. The fine can go up to 20 million. The imprisonment can go up to 10 years.
10 years.
Using harsh words cannot be classified as cyberbullying. In a coffin. Another one where all the clothes were going out and she was left naked. Another one where she was appearing like she was kissing with with I think the Kenyan president. Now that is where they went beyond. That is now cyberbullying. Yes. If I cyberbullied you in Kenya, you sue me in Kenya. If I cyberbullied you in Tanzania, then you sue me in Tanzania. If someone cyberbullies you, you can use two channels. You can sue them for a criminal case, and you can sue them for a civil case. The state can sue, but it can't sue in a Kenyan court. Neither can it sue in a Tanzanian court. You draw Suluhu while running. That's just being that's called artistic creativity. There's nothing wrong. Artistic expression. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Hello nice people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Vicky Vikina, and on our today's show there's been a rise of cyberbullying here in Kenya. Especially we saw last week the case of Tanzanians and also Kenyans. So today I have an expert, or we can say the advocate of the High Court, who tends to understand cyber law, and so we are going to discuss one or two, three things so that we get to understand cyberbullying, especially here in Kenya, and what are the consequences? The things that people post on the internet, can they be, jailed because of what they post on the internet? Ama the freedom of expression that we see Kenyans do each and every day. But before we continue, I'd love my guest to introduce himself. Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
How are you?
I'm okay. And I'm grateful for inviting me to your show.
First of all, thank you so much for accepting our invitation here.
Thank you very much. It's my maiden appearance, and I hope it will be nice.
Kindly introduce yourself to people who do not know you and what you do.
My name is Boniface Nyamo. Boniface Nyamo is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya.
Yes.
I practice here in Nairobi, in a street called Kimathi Street, a building called Old Mutual Building. We also have a small branch in a small town called Limuru.
Oh, wow.
So basically that's what I do for a living. And it has been nice.
Oh, wow. Good to know. So let's get straight to the point. As you know, there have been, high level of cyberbullying here in Kenya, but people don't understand probably, the extent they can go with expressing themselves on social media. So just to make us understand, what is the understanding of cyberbullying according to the law?
Cyberbullying, according to the way it is defined in law.
Yes.
And to be specific, the law that defines cyberbullying is called Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act of 2018. It was enacted in 2018 after our society or our country realized it was going too much.
Yes.
So it was a way of trying to regulate how people deal with their gadgets, while at the same time not tramping up on their rights to freely express themselves, as anticipated by our Constitution 2010. It is also important to note the reason as to why there was a need for that act is because our Constitution, which was enacted in 2010, gave people freedom of expression, even artistic expression, as long as your freedom of expression or artistic expression does not harm the other person. And when I talk of the other person, I mean your neighbor.
Yes.
And when I mean your neighbor, the law does not define your neighbor as someone who sits next to you or someone who lives next to you. It defines your neighbor as anyone who is likely to be affected by your conduct, your actions, your words, and so on and so forth. Yes.
And now, what's the difference between cyberbullying and freedom of expression?
You know, freedom of expression is saying what you feel, what you think, what you know, without being curtailed or being told you have to talk up to this level and then keep quiet. Cyberbullying is when you take it to the next level. It is no longer about expressing yourself. It is about threatening, intimidating, bullying, although I don't want to use the word bullying because that is what we are discussing. So basically it's intimidating, harassing, threatening, making people feel like they are under pressure over things that are not supposed to make them feel that way. So that is when it becomes a crime. Otherwise, communicating and freely expressing yourself on your Twitter, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, cannot be classified as a crime under our law, under this act of computer misuse and cybercrime act. Yes.
But somebody would say probably they feel like this person has wronged them. So, you know, them going out and expressing themselves, whatever words they would use, ni kama yani, it's like wanalipisha kisasi to what the other person had said. So is that still cyberbullying as much as bad words were used or something of the sort?
You see, using harsh words cannot be classified as cyberbullying. But the element of being you're threatening someone, you are intimidating them, you want to body shame them. That is what that those elements are the ones that qualify freedom of expression to move from freedom of expression to now cyberbullying. And then the law speaks about computer communications. Therefore, if I come to you and then abuse you, that cannot fit in that category. It has to be by use of gadgets. And you know, nowadays, gadgets and social media. You know, we use phones, we use computers. And then there are so many platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, TikTok, and so on and so forth. You know, these are new inventions. I want to believe 20 years ago, there was no problem with cyberbullying because these things were not there. So as the society advances in terms of technology, that is why we need these laws that will deal with our current situation. Because the world is not stagnant. The world is moving. Probably 10 years from now, the problems that we are facing are not the same problems or challenges we will be facing. That is why maybe we will need another act to address the situation that will be there at that particular moment.
Okay, understood. And now currently in Kenya, cyberbullying has gone to another level. But, you know, I saw online somebody saying that Kenya has been ranked one of the top countries when it comes to cyberbullying. I don't know if that is true. First of all, is it true? And what is your take on the increase of cyberbullying in Kenya right now?
That report that ranked Kenya among the top countries in terms of cyberbullying could be true. The reason as to why I strongly believe that it could be true is because if you look around Africa, I will tell you for free as an advocate, we are among the very few countries that have very progressive constitutions. I want to take you back and give you an example of our neighbors in Tanzania and Uganda. Currently, the opposition leader in Tanzania called Tundu Lissu is in remand because of the utterances that he made in Tanzania that were perceived as treasonous. If you go to Uganda currently, we have a gentleman called Besigye, who is also an opposition leader, who is in jail, apparently because of the things that he was doing that the government there perceive as criminal, of which it is debatable I don't know. It is debatable, it's in their country. For sure. In Kenya, I want to tell you, even if you try to arrest an ordinary citizen, leave alone an opposition leader, an ordinary citizen, I am telling you, the state cannot manage to hold them for 6 months without them going to court, seeking bail terms. And our constitution says every offense in Kenya is bailable. So you will arrest them today, they go to court, argue their case, take plea, argue their case on bail, and unless the state gives very compelling reasons, there's no reason as to why they should not be denied bail. And for your information, even if the state goes to court and says they have compelling reasons, it is not upon the accused person to prove anything. It is upon the state once again to convince the court about these compelling reasons, not mere apprehensions. not mere suspicions. There has to be tangible evidence before court, before their prayer is allowed to incarcerate a person for such a long time.
For sure.
Yes.
So are you saying probably our constitution is the problem?
No, not at all. Not at all. Our constitution is not the problem. Our constitution is the opposite of the problem. I don't know. It's actually the solution. Because even if we have our own challenges as a republic, when it comes to democracy, especially comparably to African states, I would rank Kenya very high. I would actually rank it number one in East and Central Africa. I'm not saying we don't have our own challenges, but our challenges are less as compared to our neighboring country and our regional states. So our constitution is not the problem. The problem, actually, we don't have a problem. The problem is on the other end, is that there's no freedom.
I see.
So, but the problem now, which I would diagnose, is that some of our people who are given freedom are abusing it. But there are not many. There are very few people in on social media. Otherwise, most of us, I know you use social media. Even what we are doing now is social media.
For sure.
Even me, most people use social media responsibly. But if we have 100, 200 people who are misusing social media in Kenya, that can't be said to be a problem. It is an isolated. Those are isolated cases. Just like the way Kenyans are not thieves. Kenyans are good people. But we have isolated cases where some few people are stealing other people's properties and money. Yes.
Now, let's get to the current situation that we have when it comes to cyberbullying on the internet. That was between Kenya and Tanzania. And this especially affected the president of Tanzania, and that is Mama Samia Suluhu. So as Kenyans really, some of the Kenyans enjoyed, drawing memes out there, making cartoons here and there. Do you think what they did broke the law when it comes to cyberbullying?
Two things. I am also a Kenyan, and I happen to see all those memes. Some of them are not illegal and they did not commit any crime. For example, if you draw Suluhu while running, that's just being that's called artistic creativity. There's nothing wrong. Artistic expression. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I also saw another one, for example, where they had drawn Tanzania and Kenya, where they want to paint Kenya as London and then Tanzania as another poor country. Again, I do not think that is a crime, because you have a right to think the way you want and to express the way, as long as it's not offensive. The only other things that I think were offensive, I saw one where they had drawn her in a coffin. Now that is not okay. Now that is what we call cyberbullying. You get it? But when you draw the president of Kenya and the president of Tanzania looking like they're boxing, I mean, what is wrong with that?
So it's okay.
Allow people be. There's nothing wrong. It's just art. It is, art can take many forms. You can go to a studio, record some music. You can be a cartoonist, draw a cartoon. You can be a content creator. You create content whereby you you remember we had what we used to call it, XYZ.
Yes, XYZ show.
XYZ show. It used to draw kina Uhuru, kina Raila, kina Ruto, sometimes talking in a manner that is portrayed them as caricatures. And it was not a crime. So what is the difference between that situation and a situation whereby you portray Raila, not Raila, Ruto and Suluhu appearing like they're boxing?
But don't we agree that, there are some extent Kenyans walienda that was not okay, especially, for example, putting mama kwa coffin. There's another one that was showing her kind of naked.
Now that is what I'm saying. That is where they went beyond the boundaries, and that now qualifies to be called cyberbullying. But a situation whereby you draw her running and then is it the hijab or
the
hijab gets out, or where she's running and then the dress and buttons, but she has some other clothes inside. What is the problem with that? There's no problem. The problem is situations whereby maybe I saw one where she was in a coffin, another one where all the clothes were going out and she was left naked, another one where she was appearing like she was kissing with the with I think the Kenyan president. Now that is where they went beyond. That is now cyber bullying. Yes.
And what of now these Kenyans who are doing interviews out there? I think the likes of Nuru Okanga, Kimbi Kimbi, and they were expressing themselves, you know. Ungeona pengine anaongea anasema wewe mama nini nini. Now is that freedom of expression, or now are they are going beyond and they're doing cyberbullying?
You see, as long as you are in Bunge la Mwananchi in Jacaranda or even here in CBD, you express your point without uttering insults. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, let me tell you something. When people are in a cage, when people are in a cage, and then sometimes they are let out, they feel like they are not supposed to be free. It's called the Stockholm syndrome. So I know the problem with Tanzania. Some of the things that we are doing, which are normal, which is what we define as freedom of expression, to them, because they have been a bit, I would say, their freedom is not where we are. For example, if you look at what is happening currently, they are saying no reforms, no elections, meaning they will not go to elections in October, November, if there will be no reforms. You know what they are asking for is what Kenya was asking for between 2007 and 2013. Yes, that is what gave birth to our current constitution. From 2017, 2007 up to 2013. So from 2013 up to now, those are 12 years. So what does that one mean? Our democracy, our freedom is 15 years ahead of Tanzania.
I see. Now that's where the problem is.
That is where that is where the differences are coming. But I am happy the clamor that is in Tanzania is a good thing. They are also coming, but we should not also be standing, because ours is a free society, but not absolutely free. We still have a long way to go, because even in Kenya, you can see some people being arrested over very flimsy reasons, abductions. So it's like us and America. America is way ahead of us, but they can't stop there. They also need to improve. They also need to improve. Tanzania also needs to improve and get where we are as we get to where another country is, and so on and so forth.
Now, if some of these individuals in Tanzania probably were offended by what they saw on the internet, and probably Kenyans pengine tumepita mipaka, would they sue? And what are the consequences?
Usually what happens, if there's a difference between a state and another state, a state can sue, but it can't sue in a Kenyan court, neither can it sue in a Tanzanian court. Because of course, if it's Tanzania that is complaining and then you sue in a Kenyan court, of course the court will be perceived as biased because it is a Kenyan court. If it is us suing the Tanzanian government, we can't sue in Tanzania because we will perceive them as being biased in favor of their government. But you can sue in the international courts that deal with disputes between one state and another state. And to demonstrate that there was nothing wrong with what Kina Okanga were doing, I also saw in their parliament, one of the member of parliament said, we are not the people. There's nothing to come and learn in Kenya, because we actually went to our parliament. We actually went to our parliament and raped it. You see, for us, we feel like that is freedom of expression. But if it is us who had said that, it would have been taken very negatively. Another one said, there's nothing to learn from Kenya because they are ahead of us in every aspect. The only thing that we know is how to speak good English. We did not take offense because we are used to these things. We are used to people expressing themselves. But when we express ourselves, they take offense. So we are telling our brothers and our sisters in Tanzania, because we are still good friends, please cool down, come back to sobriety. After all this is said and done, we will still remain good neighbors. Yes.
Okay, just briefly, if indeed an individual from Tanzania would sue an individual from Kenya from cyberbullying. Now, what is the process of going to that international, court, and what will be the consequences of, if that person from Kenya angepatikana guilty?
You see, an individual from Kenya cannot sue an individual from Tanzania in an international court. So that scenario I was telling you is only applicable to states.
Yes.
For individuals, it's called private law, where you wrong me, I go to court and sue you. For private individuals, you have to go to our jurisdictional courts. What do I mean? If I'm in Kenya and you've cyberbullied me, I'm supposed to sue you in Kenya if you are in Kenyan soil. If you are in Tanzania, I'm supposed to come and sue you in Tanzania. And the applicable law is the law of the state where you are. Because you will find, for example, maybe our penalty as a republic is a fine of 20 million or a jail term of 10 years.
Yes.
Maybe if you go to Tanzania, you will find it is a jail term of 15 years, not 10 years.
Yes.
That is why the applicable law is where the offense happened. If I cyberbullied you in Kenya, you sue me in Kenya. If I cyberbullied you in Tanzania, then you sue me in Tanzania. The other reason as to why that happens is because you will find something is a crime in Kenya and it is not a crime in Tanzania.
Yes.
Something is a crime in Tanzania, it is not a crime in Kenya. So,
and for example, just to ask, if one of the individuals was to be found guilty, where will they be jailed? Is it Tanzanian side or the Kenyan side?
It will be the individual will be jailed where that matter was tried.
Oh,
if you committed the offense in Kenya, that means you will be tried in Kenya.
Yes.
For example, Milimani. If it's in Kenya, then that means you will be jailed in Kenya.
Yes.
If the offense happened in Tanzania, you will be tried in Tanzania, and that is where you will be committed to jail.
Okay.
Yes.
Apart from that, let's talk about normal social media bullying. Especially, we've seen that rise in our TikTok platforms. Can it really be controlled, or is still that freedom of expression we are leaving Kenyans to express each other as much as tunaona hizo matusi everywhere?
Unfortunately, I don't know whether to say unfortunately or fortunately, the state, when Uhuru was still in power, attempted to introduce some law to regulate social media. And almost when it was complete, some petitioners went to court and challenged that law.
Yes.
And not actually, it was not a law, it was a proposed law. They challenged it. And you know what? The court declared that bill unconstitutional, and the government was told you have to let people express themselves. In case you feel like they have crossed the boundaries, they are already existing laws, so you can charge them using that law. So that means as we are currently, you are free to use your social media the way you want, as long as you don't cross the boundaries that we have just defined.
Now, what if somebody crosses the boundary now here in Kenya? Can they sue? And is it easy to sue?
There are two options.
Yes.
If someone cyberbullies you, you can use two channels. You can sue them for a criminal case, and you can sue them for a civil case. What do I mean? For example, let's say someone has defamed you on social media.
Yes.
You can either go to the police or the Communications Authority of Kenya. That is criminal in nature if you go to the police, whereby they are supposed to arrest that person after investigations, and they establish that there is a crime that was committed. They are supposed to charge that person. Then the court will deal with him or her, and they will convict if there are enough reasons and grounds. That is criminal. In civil, it is you who has been wronged who is supposed to file a civil case in court, whereby the individual who has wronged you is supposed to be the defendant. So that defendant is supposed to be, you're supposed to prove your case, you prosecute your case, and if the court finds them to have wronged you, they will award damages. Yes.
And now, what are the things that Kenyans do that they do not know this is cyberbullying?
Insulting people. You know, I have a right to tell you what you're doing is wrong. I don't think what you're doing is right. You've lost your way. But not use insults. I see people use insult a lot, which is against the law. They can be charged. Number two, I have seen people threaten people to harm them bodily, sometimes even murder. If you find someone texting someone either through a message or WhatsApp or on Facebook.
That's still bullying.
That's still bullying. Telling them, you nikikupata I will murder you. You see, that's already bullying.
And that person can be sued for that.
Yes, it's a serious criminal offense to threaten or intimidate people or harass people.
Yes.
I've seen others abduct people and then start asking for ransoms using their gadgets.
Yeah.
It's also a crime.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And now, apart from that, there was this thing that people are asking. For example, me as Vicky, I've found a video on WhatsApp. Probably that video is defaming somebody or bullying somebody. I've shared it to our WhatsApp group. Can I be sued for sharing that? And if that admin of that group, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook, or anywhere, doesn't pull that video, can that admin also be sued for that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you share a video that is misleading, that is threatening, that is harassing, you are liable and you commit an offense and you can be jailed according to our Kenyan laws.
But I'm just sharing as any other person.
It does not matter because you are helping in spreading the misinformation. So
yes.
that is why it is important once you receive a video or a message that you're not very sure whether it's authentic, you authenticate the sources before sharing with your friends or on WhatsApp groups and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that one I didn't know. And now, does it mean that people have responsibilities, especially these admin groups, when you want to they have responsibility of what is being shared in the group or not?
Of course, they take responsibility because if you open a WhatsApp group and you're the admin, that is like your house. That is like your online house.
Yes.
So it is expected that you will moderate and moderate in a good way.
Yeah.
And it should not be an avenue to commit crime or further crime. Because when you share misleading videos, messages, information, you are furthering a crime. You are abetting a crime.
Yes.
That is why they are told to take responsibility.
Yes.
But of course, the Kenyan security forces have not been in a position to follow up rightly up to the end because of many challenges. Sometimes, for example, I give you challenges. If you want to track down someone who is cyberbullying a Vicky, you know, it's possible for me to bully you when I'm in Marsabit, when I'm in Siolo, when I'm in Busia. So before I track you until I get you, a single individual, then once I'm done with you, I go to the next person. It might take a lot of time. Number two, also capacity. Sometimes I do not think our security forces were ready with capacity for the kind of technological evolution that is happening so fast. Then another challenge is the awareness. You see, especially these young people, they do not appreciate or know sometimes when they are going beyond the boundaries.
Yes.
So some of them are actually doing it innocently.
Innocently, without knowing.
Innocently. And you know, as far as information is concerned, Gen Z has a lot of information. It is a very knowledgeable generation.
Yes.
In fact, I want to believe Gen Z should be rated the most knowledgeable generation in this republic.
Yes.
Yes.
And now, moving on, what just to educate Kenyans, what are the consequences in case a Kenyan are guilty of cyberbullying? Are they getting jailed? If it's bail, it has sum up to maybe what amount or something?
The law gives judicial officers, and when I talk of judicial officers, those are magistrates, judges, cadis, and so on and so forth. It gives them discretion. It does not tell them this is the fine that you must fine them, or this is the imprisonment that you must imprison them.
Yes.
It gives them discretion depending on circumstances. But the fine can go up to 20 million. The imprisonment can go up to 10 years.
10 years.
So from there, it's now discretionary. The magistrate can give you 10, 8, 7, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, depending on they're calling them mitigating circumstances.
I see.
Maybe sometimes, you know, if one commits a crime, another person commits a crime. When you look at the circumstances, you find this one, although it is not it's not supposed to be a justification. This one was compelled because of reasons ABC.
Yes, yeah.
Unlike that other one who did not have any mitigating factor.
For sure. I saw the other day they were suggesting that probably in the future Kenyans will have to use their IDs to access social media. Do you think that one will work?
I do not think that is going to work. Neither do I support it. I know it was a proposal that had been suggested and actually tabled by a member of parliament. It's called the Eldai member of parliament. What is the name of that lady? Keitani.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's called Keitani. She's the one who had suggested that law.
Yeah.
I think it is in bad faith because when making laws, you should ensure that if your worst enemy gets to power, they cannot be in a position to exploit you.
Sure. Yes.
Yes. And when you're making laws, you should not make laws for yourself or your government. You should think, when you're making laws, you should think of 50 years from when you will not be there and ask yourself, will that law be favorable for people who will be living there when I'm long gone? If the answer is yes, if the answer is in the affirmative, you should go ahead. But if the answer is in the negative, then you should not proceed. Yes.
I see. And somebody would ask, if today they feel like they've been cyberbullied, what kind of evidence do they need to present that kind of case in court?
The message is that will have been shared all the videos. For example, if someone sent you a message on WhatsApp, you can screenshot and print.
Yes.
If someone sent you a video, you can just need the video and reproduce the video and show.
Sure. Yes. But we can say, as much as you're saying, it's freedom of speech and, Kenyans are just expressing themselves. Cyberbullying tends to affect a lot of people. Mwananchi wa kawaida pengine ataongea atasema hivi na hivi, but these high ranking people, I mean, we've seen Beatrice Elachi the other day akisema the way she didn't feel right after the son's death, the way she was cyberbullied. So at some point it tends to affect this, high-ranking people. So how bad does cyberbullying affect people in the society?
Cyberbullying affects people seriously. Sometimes they even go to depression.
Yeah.
It's serious psychological torture. For example, I can imagine a situation whereby Beatrice had a son who is dead.
Yeah.
Here is a mother who is mourning her son. And then, as if that is not enough, as if that pain is not enough, then someone comes to social media and then starts attacking you using that deceased son.
Yes, yeah.
It was unfortunate, and I've seen other situations. That is just one example.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to agree. It causes a lot of mental anguish, mental torture, and it has actually led so many people to depression. So we need to be very careful.
Sure.
I can also give you an example. I saw musicians, the Mount Kenya musicians, when they went to the deputy president's premises, they were really cyberbullied, and I felt sorry for them, especially body shaming people.
Yes.
I think we need to reach a point as a society, even if we do not agree, I tell you respectively what you have done. I do not agree with you. Yes. I feel like you've lost directions. I will unfollow you. I will not listen to your music. I will not come to your gigs. That is allowed.
Yes.
But when you go to extents of telling people, I don't know, their legs look like stove.
Yes.
I think it is.
On that, the president's daughter, that is Charlene Ruto, has faced a lot of cyberbullying. As much as people don't agree with probably the governance or something, she has also been affected. I don't know what you can say about that.
Yeah, I agree. We might not agree with the president. Even personally, I might not agree with the president because of his policies and the way he's running the country.
Yeah.
But insulting him or his children or his wife is not the right direction to go. But again, calling him Kasongo, that is not insult. Or one term, that is not insult. That is not freedom of expression. I'm telling you, I want you to serve one term. I do not want you to serve 2 terms.
Yes.
But when you go to extent of being personal, that is where the whole thing gets the difference.
Okay.
Yes.
As you're finishing up, now you've seen some of the parents. I think I saw a bit of Pastor Nganga complaining and saying, kwani government hamwezi control vijana venye wanaongea. Do you think Kenyans at large on the internet can be controlled on this act of cyberbullying?
It is difficult. I'm not saying they can't be controlled, but it will be very difficult.
Yeah.
It will need a lot of resources. It will need a lot of capacity building.
Yes.
It will need a lot of goodwill. It will take sometimes tramping up on people's rights. And the way I know Kenyans, the way they have evolved, I don't think you can just trample on their right and then they leave you.
Yes.
They leave you like this and go.
Yeah.
It won't go well. It won't end without a fight.
Yes.
So it is possible, but very difficult.
Is there future laws that you think if zikiekwa hapa, then we can be able to control on how people express themselves on the internet? Do you think there's any?
I think it's just creating more awareness, and then being strict on those who breach the law.
Yes.
To serve as examples to those ones who are intending on
for sure
committing the same offenses.
Yeah.
But otherwise, people should be let to be free. If it's just expression, people should be allowed, because in the process, you have to appreciate, as much as this cyberbullying on social media, there's a lot of learning on social media. Sometimes I see people post things, and when I read, I realize, oh, this is the, and when I try, I realize it's the correct thing.
Yes.
And I didn't know.
Yeah.
For example, I give you a very simple example. I didn't know that sometimes your phone can be diverted by even security agencies.
Yes.
Then they tell you, if you want to remove the diversion, this is where you dial, this is how you do it. And when you do it, it's working. So we can also appreciate social media, because as much as they cyberbully, there's also a lot to learn, and there's also a lot of entertainment.
Yes.
Especially getting stress in Kenya. maybe ni kujitakia tu.
Wanasema you can't get stressed while you're in Kenya.
You can't. Yes. You can't. So,
and so, your personal opinion, as you're just finishing up, your personal opinion on the Tanzanian versus Kenyan, whatever. Do you think it was right or it's wrong? Or there's ama kuna percentage that is right and wrong?
About what?
The Tanzanian, the Kenyan, whatever, that were going through social media, personal opinion. Do you think it was right or wrong?
I think it was right. Because, you see, Martha Karua and the likes of Kina Boniface Mwangi went to Tanzania. They were saying clearly, we had gone to Tanzania because we wanted to go and listen to Tundu Lissu's case. You see, us, we do not know what is the problem, what crime is committed by me saying, Vicky has a case in court. I want to go and listen and follow through proceedings to know what will transpire.
Sure.
So that is what they were saying. So the Tanzanian government did not tell us what I had the Tanzanian president say wamevuruga kwao, sasa wamekuja kuvuruga hapa. So I didn't understand what kind of kuvuruga she was talking about, because to us, going to court to hear cases cannot be kuvuruga. So I think that is where the misunderstanding came from. Because Kenyans are asking, please stop trampling on people's rights. Let people be. On the other hand, they are feeling like we are going to interfere with their internal affairs.
For sure. And by the way that MP was saying inside the parliament ati mngewabakisha hapa tuwaonyeshe, is that even lawful?
It's not lawful in Kenya, neither is it lawful in Tanzania.
Yes.
She was just being emotional.
I see.
I felt sorry. I felt embarrassed when I had that lady tell the minister. By the way, ministers in Tanzania are also members of parliament. So that minister was in parliament, and he was telling the minister, next time they come here, don't allow them to just go back. Make sure that as they go back to their country, they have
Bruce, I don't know,
jerry cans of gases. You know, mitungi ya gas. You know what? Those oxygen tanks.
Yeah.
You know, that's very unfortunate.
Yes.
In short, you are inciting the state to use violence on East African community citizens. And you know, by the way, we have something called Muungano wa Afrika Mashariki, whereby we agreed citizens coming from Uganda should be free to just come in, get back. Citizens coming from Kenya to Tanzania, citizens coming, because we want to build a strong regional bloc that will help us economically, in terms of business, in terms of security, and so on and so forth.
I see.
But if we continue like this, it will be a tall order to achieve that. And you remember it had been tried by the founding fathers, but didn't work. So we are hoping this time when we try it will work. But with this kind of circumstances, it will be difficult.
For sure. Advice to online bullies, whether they are doing it knowingly or unknowingly, what can you tell them?
Online, ladies and gentlemen, please, you are free to use your gadgets. It is allowed. You have freedom of expression, but your freedom ends where my freedom or that other person's freedom begin.
Yeah.
So make sure that as you do that, you do not go beyond where your freedom ends up to the space of the other person.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will be in trouble with the law, and I don't think that is what we encourage in this platform.
For sure.
Yes.
And just before I forget, somebody was asking if today I feel like somebody has bullied me, do I go to a lawyer and then a lawyer atanipeleka through the proceedings for me to get my case heard, ama what happens?
That is what I said. If you want a civil case, if you want to be paid for damages, you're supposed to go to a lawyer so that he can file a civil case.
I see. Okay.
If you want this person to be jailed, now that's a criminal case, and that is where you go to a police station so that they can investigate, arrest this person, and charge. So it's up to you to decide. However, you can decide, I want both. You can take him to the police, and as police are dealing with him or her, you go to your lawyer, tell him or her, as a police investigator to charge this person, I also want to open a criminal case with you so that this person can pay me.
Oh, so I don't know if you know Aziad versus Chira case. I don't know if, are you aware of that case?
I've heard about it.
So it was okay the way the proceedings zilikuwa zinaendelea?
It was okay.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, kindly talk to Kenyans as you're finishing, advise them, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Kenyans. I want to tell you that Kenya is a beautiful country. It is the only country that we have. I don't think you have any other republic other than Kenya.
Yes.
So it is a free country. Let no one tell you that you can't express yourselves for fear of things happening to you. However, let's be responsible citizens as you use your freedom, especially with the social media. Let's use them responsibly, ensuring that we are not trampling on other people's rights.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for educating us. And guys, let us know in the comment section, what is that one thing that you've learned after our conversation? Give this video a big thumbs up. Until next time, bye-bye.